This was my first attempt, and my optional subject is sociology. And I'd given my interview in the last week of August, and I'm awaiting my results now. So I think what I plan to share with you, all of you guys is my own experiences with prelims and how I revised static portion of prelims in the last 1 month, the current affairs portion of prelims in the last 1 month, and in general about my interview experience, etc. So before I go ahead with that, short disclaimer. So these are simply my own personal experiences. So these might not necessarily work for all of you. And secondly, I must acknowledge that I was lucky enough to be able to devote my full time for UPSC preparation. I understand that some of you might have constraints of working while also preparing. So tweak these my experiences according to your own convenience and adapt them. So now I'll share my screen with you people, and also please feel very free to interrupt me at any point while I'm speaking, or you can drop a question in the chat box, or you can just open your mic and ask me any question while I'm talking. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. So firstly, I thought I'd share how I prepared for the static portion in the last 1 month. Starting with polity, history, and geography are the three subjects that I thought I'll talk to you guys about. So firstly, with polity, so I think one of the very important aspects that helped me in clearing prelims is to have very concise and compact notes from which I could revise nicely in the end. And most of the notes that I'm going to share with you guys right now is made in the last 1 month or 40 days before prelims. So I'm sure you guys can also do the same, and this will be of huge help in clearing prelims. So firstly, with polity, you can see all of you know from Lakshmikant, there are parliamentary committees in Lakshmikant. So I put all of this in a tabular format so that it becomes really easy for us to revise and also to compare between different committees. I mean, to me personally, if it's put out in this form, it becomes a lot more easier for me to grasp the information and also to retain it. So you can see I put all the parliamentary committees like this, and color coded them, like three of them which belong to one header and in one color, and then you can see this happening. So similarly, I've also done the same with constitutional bodies. So see, I've put all the constitutional bodies in a tabular format, and this all boils down to 3 pages. So this does two things to us. One, it reduces the time that you need to invest when it comes to revision. Now, if you can recall, constitutional bodies, I think, are around 10 chapters in Lakshmikant. Now, all of the 10 chapters is condensed into just 2 pages here, you see. And also, it becomes very easy for you to compare so that you don't get confused. For instance, whether a person is appointed by the president or appointed by the president under his warrant and seal, or if his conditions of service are given in the constitution or determined by the presidency, it's written in the tabular format. So this is a very useful way of doing it, is what I felt while devising polity. Same, I've done similar stuff with non-constitutional bodies, the Panchayati Raj system. So in the end, it just took me around 12 to 13 hours to revise the entire Lakshmikant book, just 2 to 3 days before prelims. So this is a useful thing that I suppose you people can also do. So moving on to modern history, I just thought I'll share snippets of different subjects, 2 to 3 snippets of different subjects, and you guys can ask me any doubts while I'm going through it. Now, next is modern history. Again, in modern history, one of the very important areas is these organizations and who's founded them, and also where they have worked, in the sense, what is the main theme that was running behind these areas of their areas of work. Now you might ask, these are already almost given in a concise form in Spectrum, so why make a notes? Yeah, Jyotirmay, I think you have a question. Please go ahead.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah, hey, just call me Vijay. Yeah, go ahead,
Sir,
Jyotirmay.
sir, actually, this tabular form is awesome, sir. So, is it
Uh,
useful to the mains perspective also, only for just prelims only?
the tables,
Yes, sir.
it's definitely very useful for mains also, because in mains also, in either the bodies or say in the conclusion or anywhere, for instance, there could be a question on the role of CAG, and then you can always mention, say, either probably say a particular article or where is CAG. See, um, just give me a second. Okay, yeah. So CAG is here, if you can see on the screen. Now, if you have this table in front of you, you'll be able to quickly recall, say, while writing answer on CAG, you can start by saying Article 148 of the Constitution says, or you can say they have a security of tenure, or you can say that, CAG does not have the power to, go through the accounts of the government before they are already presented. So it becomes very easy for you to quote them in the introductions as well as the conclusions. So yes, I would say this is very useful for mains as well as for the interview also. Like before interview also, I refer to these tables. Is that
Yes,
clear, Jyotirmay, or do you have? Uh,
yes, sir. And the doubt, sir, please.
yeah, yeah.
Apart from this tabular form content, we have to incorporate the current affairs, which will fetch at least 200 to 250 words according to the demand of the question.
Yes, sure. So, would it be okay, Jyotima, if we sort of deal with the prelims part first, and then we can deal with the mains part, segment it into prelims, mains, and interview? Is that okay if we do that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely come to your question once I'm just done with this prelims part. So,
Thank you so
moving,
much, sir.
yeah, sure. So moving on. So coming to modern history, like I was saying, these are more or less given in spectrum, but at very different places, and also it become, to me personally, it became really difficult for me to retain so much of information. I mean, modern history is heavy on information and facts that you need to remember. So I started putting this in a tabular format, and you guys can put it either or do it digitally, or you can do it with the pen and paper method. Anything works. So two things again. One is this builds what is called your muscle memory. While writing it down, it also gets recorded in your brain, and it becomes really easy for you to recall. So if you can see, I've written down all the organizations and founders, and there are different places through spectrum. So you can see there are 35 here, and there are about 100 of them throughout the entire book. And it's not like you need to sit and write all of them down in one go. Whenever you are revising a particular chapter, just whatever is there in the chapter, just put this paper right next to you while revising a particular chapter, and write just one organization down there while you revise it. So at the end of it, as it nears prelims, it becomes really easy for you to revise all of it. And also, again, the comparison part. For instance, see here, the first one here is Bharat Dharma Mahamandal on the screen, 29, and 33 is Bharat Sri Mandal. So when it comes to names like this, we might get very confused as to who is the founder and what is it that they're dealing with. Similarly, there is in another paper that I've not put here, there are about 5 to 6 organizations that dealt with untouchability. Harijan Sangh, Untouchability League, Untouchability Organization. So for you to compare and get the correct founder in your mind, this again is a very useful exercise. So moving on, similarly, I put all the words and everything in one page so that I can remember just what is the conclusion of the war, and then what is the treaty that has happened after the end of the war. And you can see my scribblings next to it. It was just about who was the governor or the governor general when that particular war was happening. And moving on, I thought I would share with you guys some of the tricks that I used to remember. Again, might work, might not work for you guys, but I thought I'll share with you people. So these are the list of governors and viceroys. So to me personally, I found it really hard to remember all of them in the chronological order. So what I've done is I've made I put the number of years that the gap was there, or the tenure for which they have served. Each Governor General served, for instance, Warren Hastings served for 12 years. Cornwallis served for 7 years. So I put this thing down, and after a while, it becomes much easier for you to remember this. For instance, see here, if you start with Lord Northbrook, there are 4 times that 4 people have served 4 years tenure. Then after that, then again, here the trick that I put is Lansdowne. The name of the Governor General is Lansdowne. So down from here, you will have a recurring pattern of 6-5-6-5-6-5. One Governor General would serve for a tenure of 6 years. Then the next one would serve for a tenure of 5 years. Similarly, 6-5-6-5 and all. Then when it comes to the 12th one, Lord Chelmsford, and all of you know, if you've done modern history, during Lord Chelmsford is when the 1919 reforms have happened. So I've put this trick here that this 6-5-6-5 pattern will get reformed at Chelmsford and become a 5-5-5 pattern after this. If you can see, Reading serves for 5 years. Lord Avon also serves for 5 years. Willingdon also serves for 5 years. Then the next 2 people, the gap between both of them is also 5 years. So you can maybe work out some other mechanism, but the purpose of showing you people this is there are different ways of retaining information. If you cannot retain the information in its bare form, like just remembering the years was very difficult for me, all the years. So I would just remember, say, Lord Northbrook started at 1872, and then I know the entire pattern in my head, four times, and then 6-5 3 times. So by that I can figure out any question. For instance, prelims, they can ask, who was the viceroy when some non-cooperation movement was happening or civil disobedience movement was happening. And all of us know the years. It happened in 1930, 1920. So using this pattern, you can recall who was the viceroy. I hope this is clear to you people. Then again, important Congress sessions. This is also one of the important areas in modern history. So I've again written all of them down, and trust me, all of this was done in the last 25-30 days. So it doesn't take a lot of time, and all of you people can also do it right now. So again, here there are some tricks, and these are not my own. These are some tricks that I've picked from the internet. But just to show you guys one example, the third one, it says Begum Gandhi of 24 demanded poolside snacks with Nehru in Lahore tonight, but Patel of 31 asked for fried rice and new eco pot from Karachi. Gandhi went on second table. So initially, I was finding it really difficult to remember which thing was done in which session. So this is an interesting sort of a lame story, but an interesting story that I found online, which will help you remember things. If you see, the first one is Begum Gandhi of 24. Now, what does this mean? Begum reminds you of Belgaum. Belgaum is the only session in which Gandhi presided, only Congress session in which Gandhi presided, and it happened in the year 1924. So this is what you take away from this, and this helps you retain it better. And then demanded poolside snacks with Nehru in Lahore tonight. So what does poolside snacks remind you? It reminds you of Purna Swaraj. It starts with P and S and Purna Swaraj. Nehru presided over that session in Lahore. Tonight reminds you of something to do with 2 and N, 29. So 1929 session in Lahore is when Purna Swaraj demand was adopted. So then moving on, Patel of 31 asked for fried rice and new eco pot. So this is a very vague sentence, but again, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel presided over the 1931 session in which fried rice, F&R, fundamental rights, and the National Economic Program, NEP, were adopted in the Karachi session. So this should remind you that 1931 Patel fundamental rights and new National Economic Program was adopted. Then Gandhi went on second table. And this is a very easy thing. I'm sure all of you remember that second roundtable conference is the only one in which Mahatma Gandhi had participated. Then the later part where I'm talking about the presidents, this is again something that I've done much later after I've analyzed the question papers. That usually they ask questions like X person has never been the president of Congress sessions, or the X person has presided over the Congress sessions the most number of times, etc. So I just went through the Wikipedia page of all the Congress presidents and I've made this tally. Now it becomes really easy for me to figure out who's presided over the most. Clearly, it's Jawaharlal Nehru at number 5. And then there could be a question that Dadabhai Naoroji is the only one who has presided over Congress 3 times. And you know that it's wrong because see, there is someone else at number 3, Madan Mohan Malviya, who has also presided over Congress sessions 3 times. So these putting them down in such simple and easy ways to remember helps you recall things better. So similarly, the first one, if you see, Congress of 85, Bandra in Bombay. So Congress was initiated in 1885 in Bombay, in Bandra, invited 88 generals, all English. So 1888 is the first session when all English, it was presided over by an English person. First English president of a Congress session was in 1888. George Yule was his name. So G reminds you of that. And then to meet Annie of Calcutta in 1917. So 1917 is the first session in which a woman presided over a Congress session, who was none other than Annie Besant. And Sarojini, aged 25 in Kanpur. So Kanpur was the first session in 1925 in which an Indian woman presided over a Congress session. So again, these first and all concisely put in one vaguely formed sentence or a story. Moving on again, see, legislations is one of the biggest part of modern history, and also where definitely at least a question comes from the legislations. And to me personally, legislations were one of the areas where I was getting really confused from one legislation to another. So what I've done is, and legislations are there in 2 books that we read. One is Spectrum and the second is Lakshmikant. And both of them cover, there is a major overlap, but there are also some legislations which Lakshmikant covers that Spectrum omits, and vice versa. So I put all of it at one place so that it becomes easy for me to recall, and also I can understand the chronology of it, what evolved into what. So if you can see, and these are not very elaborative that I put in all the features of a particular act in one place. No, only those features of the act that I think are important or that I think are some things that I can't remember. Like I need to put it down somewhere. So see, and I've also highlighted the most important parts of that particular act. See, the Regulating Act has British Cabinet's control over Indian affairs were firstly put in 1773 Regulating Act. Then there was an Amendment Act. Then there was Pitt's India Act was the first time when the territories were called British possessions. And what is known as a dual government has come into place with this act. Similarly, see, the Charter Act. So see, I've highlighted the important part here that Charter Act 1813 was the first time state responsibility of education was put in a policy, and companies' monopoly was ended. So this was a question in 2018 also. Companies, which act ended the monopoly of company in trade? So just put down the important points here and then highlight them so that it's easier for you to recall. All of us humans are very visual recallers in the sense when you put it in visual formats, highlight it or see it in a picture or see it in a graph or a map, it becomes really easy for you to recall that entire picture while you are attempting in the exam. Thereby, your chance of getting the answer correct is much, much higher. So I've just put 2 pages here, but of course I had all the acts written down in this format. I just put 2 pages here. Now, moving on, I thought I'll also share with you guys another important pillar of my entire prelims preparation is the use of maps. I've extensively used maps wherever I can, and that has helped me again in 2 ways: easier recall and also for better retention. So I thought I'll start with ancient history first. Ashokan edicts. I'm sure all of you know Ashokan edicts. There are pillar edicts, rock edicts, etc. And trust me, guys, all these map things that I'm going to show you throughout the course of this PDF, they do take some time while you're making it for the first time. But these are the best. These have the best return on investment in that you will never have to make them again once you make them. And it becomes much easier for you to remember and also answer questions, because a lot of times it just does not suffice if you just know what is a particular edict. You also need to know in which area that particular edict is or in which area that particular thing exists. So putting it on a map makes it really easy for you. Now, I hope you guys are able to see this clearly. I've used different colors for different edicts. See, I have put the list also here. So everything in pink are the major rock edicts. Everything in purple are the major pillar edicts. Everything in orange is minor pillar edicts and everything in black is minor rock edicts. So putting it here, I know. So if say there comes a question as to say there are no pillar edicts in the state of Bihar, or there are no pillar edicts in the state of Jharkhand. If such a statement comes now, since I remember this map and I remember that maybe there are no rock edicts here, or there are rock edicts here, or some edicts here, it becomes really easy for me to eliminate that option or correct that option. So I would recommend you guys also do things like this, and this is also a very good way of remembering information also. So moving on again, Harappan sites. So if you can see, this might look like it takes a lot of time, and trust me, it did not take more than 40 to 45 minutes. And I drew it just putting a map underneath. I just traced the boundaries and then I started drawing the rivers on it. If you can see, the blue river is the Indus system, and the purple one is the Gagar Hakra system, and the green is the Godavari system. So then I've mapped all the important Harappan sites. I just indexed them, numbered them, and mapped them here. Now, if I get a question, any sort of question as to say a particular, for instance, say Saraikela is on the bank of which river, I can easily answer, say Saraikela is number 1 and it's on the bank of Indus system. Or there could be question of arrange the following Harappan sites from north to south, or from east to west, or which of them are or the closest to the farthest. They can give you one Harappan site and it'll be like which is the closest other Harappan sites to this particular Harappan site in question. So it becomes really easy for you to do this. So moving on, that is all I have for history to share with you guys. Then moving on with geography. So again, I apologize for the blot on the map. It was an accident. Ignore that blot. But this is the entire river system of the country. Now, this took me good 2 to 2.5 hours, but I will not regret having spent the time on this because this was extremely useful for me. See, if you can see, I traced all the rivers, including the tributaries on this map and everything. See, even the smaller rivers on the western coast, the Koyna, Dudganga, Mandavi, Zwari, Kali Nadi, and all of that. I put everything here. And what I've done after that is I've started making this tabular format. Just simple information. Where does the river originate, the source of it? Where does the mouth of it, that is, where does it end? Whether it falls into the Arabian Sea or whether it merges into another river. What are the tributaries to it? And states. By states, I mean what are the states the river passes through, and what are the important cities that are on the banks of this particular river. So now, why do I say this was very, very important to me? One, you can always answer the questions directly about rivers, that this river is passing through a particular blah 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 number of states, or which of the following states do the river pass through, or which of the following are tributaries of river Ganga, or which of the following tributaries originate in Malwa Plateau. You can answer all these questions. And you also have spillover effects, in the sense you can also answer other questions by indirectly using this information. For instance, I'll come to the part later, but I've also marked all the national parks, all the wildlife sanctuaries, tiger reserves, everything on the map. So there could be a question as to X national park passes through this river, or this river passes through X national park, or say a particular inter-river linking project is going to affect Panna National Park. So these sort of questions you can answer because you know the location of that particular national park on the map, and you also know the location of this particular river on the map. And using these two information, you can figure out whether this national park is in the range of that river, which means it's highly likely that an inter-river linking project of that river is going to harm that particular national park. So this was a list of rivers, and see, this is the Ganga system, which Ganga is originating and how it forms river Ganga. Again, this thing that you see in the bottom right corner, this Vina Karude, is a sort of an acronym that I've made for all the 5 Prayagas. Vishnu Prayaga, Nanda Prayaga, Karna Prayaga, Rudra Prayaga, Dev Prayaga. So you can always form such acronyms which you can remember very easily or recall very easily. You don't even need to remember it. When they ask, okay, put these Prayagas in a particular order, you will just recall this Vinakarude thing, and then you know what is Ru comes before Day. That means Rudraprayaga comes before Devaprayaga. That is all you need to know, and that will help you either fix an option or eliminate an option, and that is all you need to do. So again, this reverse thing, I made most of them in one go. But later on, when I was doing current affairs material for prelims, whenever there comes a new river or some obscure river that you've not heard of, I just Google up that river and then I'll write the river, source, mouth, etc. It just takes 2 minutes, and it's really useful that way. See, moving on, the rest are about, again, most of it are to do with geography. And to me particularly, geography was one of the most difficult subjects to study because I was not from science background and I barely knew what was the difference between density, volume, and pressure when I started out. So, which meant retention of most of geography also became really difficult for me. So what I've done is, this is a very interesting way of doing it. Also add some joy into your preparation, not make it very monotonous. So what I did is I just spent an hour and then I drew the entire forest system on the map. Now you can get this thing. It's not like I created this thing. These things are there on the internet. These things are there in the standard books. But why do I need to draw it? The purpose is for me to learn while also improving my muscle memory. I'll be able to retain all of it. Now, next time there might be a question as to which are the areas that has tropical thorn forest, or there is no tropical thorn forest in Madhya Pradesh. Now, that means the moment I see this question, I'll recall this map in my mind. And I know there is barely any red. So you can see tropical thorn is red here, orange, so to say. And there is barely any orange here in Madhya Pradesh, but there is slight bit of it towards the end of it. So I'll recall this thing and I'll be able to answer that, oh yes, there is an element of tropical thorn forest in Madhya Pradesh too. Because intuitively we might feel like there are no tropical thorn forests in Madhya Pradesh, because in general it has a huge forest cover and it's one of the states with good rainfall and all of that. So this is what I've done for forests of India. See, again, this is what I said, that maps were extremely useful for me while preparation. These are the mountain ranges and peaks. So everything you see here are the hills or the mountain ranges, Nalamala, Velikonda, Palkonda, Nagari, Javadi, Chevroy, and all of that. And what you see in green are the plateaus, Malwa Plateau, Mewar Plateau, Bundelkhand Plateau, Betul Plateau. Now, this will help you answer questions like, say, a particular river Chenab or river Son or something originates in Bundelkhand Plateau, or Amarkantak, AMK is Amarkantak Plateau, a particular river originates in Amarkantak Plateau. True or false? And you will be able to answer that quickly because from that reverse map, where the river originates from. And from this map, where that particular plateau is. So by connecting both of these, you will be able to figure out, okay, this river is in the vicinity of Amarkantak Plateau. So it's highly likely that this river is originating from that plateau. Right? So similarly too, so everything you see in blue are the peaks that are there. All the important peaks that are there. Now moving on, these are the latitudes. So these are you have to do the same exercise for India too, which I've done, but I've not put that particular map here. But if you see the number 16, where you see this is the Tropic of Cancer. So Tropic of Cancer passes through 16 countries. And I've named all of them here, 16 countries. I've highlighted them with just the initial of the country's name. Similarly, 13, what you see is the equator. An equator passes through 13 countries. And 9, what you see here is the Tropic of Capricorn, and it passes through 9 countries. Similarly, what you see here, 8, is the prime meridian. Now, why are these important? For different reasons. It will again help you answer a lot of questions. For instance, simple outright questions like, okay, Tropic of Capricorn passes through the most number of countries. And it's clearly wrong. It passes through one of the least number of countries. Or there could be questions like, a particular crop. So coffee crop is grown widely in Canada. And coffee is a tropical crop. If you've studied geography, coffee needs tropical conditions. And that Canada does not lie in any of the tropical regions. Tropical regions is between Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. And it does not lie anywhere here. So, you can eliminate that option. See, I've just put all the countries here. Equator passes through 13 countries. And they can even ask questions like, arrange the following countries through which equator passes from east to west, or north to south, or west to east, or which of the following countries does the prime meridian not pass? See, at the end, I concluded that Algeria and Mali are the only true countries which have two things passing through them: prime meridian and Tropic of Cancer. So same goes with the oceans and seas of the world. I put all the water bodies in the entire world on one map so that it becomes really easy for me to recall everything. Now, if you see, I've color coded them. Like each basin, I've color coded with a different thing. So if you see Atlantic Basin, all Atlantic Basin water bodies are in orange color. All Pacific bodies are in red color. And all these pink ones are the ones that are surrounding the Arctic. And the blue ones that you see here are the ones that are to do with the Indian Ocean. And then I made a list with the same colors. For instance, you see blue there, and then you see all the Indian Ocean basin things. Now, maybe you might be very familiar with the more important ones, but the ones like Flore Sea, Timor Sea, Great Austrian Bight, Savo Sea, these are the ones that we naturally or not, in general, are not very familiar with. Same goes with other seas also. So if you put them here, and I would just like, post dinner, after studying after dinner is one of the difficult things for me to do. So I would just take out this map and then spend some time on it, just spend 20-25 minutes on all the maps that I've made before sleeping. So it will help me etch that in my mind. And trust me, guys, all of us have great subconscious memories, or each one of us. And how we use it is depending on us, so you just look at them, and in the exam, and you probably say see Flore Sea, and you'll recall, array it's written in blue, so that means it has to do something with Indian Ocean. So you'll be able to narrow down on the options. Before that, there is some sort of disturbance. Can you guys hear the disturbance, or is it just me? Oh yeah, it's gone. Oh no, I think it's from my end. Sorry, guys. So same goes with the climatic regions too. So I've marked all the climatic regions of the world. You know the Köppen classification that's given in the NCRTs. So I've just gone by the Köppen classification, and I've marked, color coded all of them. These are just crayons that you get for 10 rupees, 20 rupees, the crayons school children use. So I got those crayons, and I've marked all of them here. Color coded them again, for different tropical, climatic regions. So next time when I get a question as to say North Africa has a tropical forest, I know it does not have evergreen forest or deciduous forest because it's marked in red. And these are the ones which have the evergreen, deciduous, and all the wet forests, and all of them are in this blue, slight blue green region everywhere. So this is a very important way of retaining information. Same goes with the soils in India. I've put all of them on the map, and I just made a list with a very short notes. This also helps you address a lot of questions as to which there might be questions like particular crop grows in particular soil, and that particular crops maybe need some particular nutrient. And the soil is either rich in that nutrient or poor in that nutrient, and you will be able to answer that question. Before that, I think Rishikesh has a question. Rishikesh, can you elaborate on what you mean interlinking topics in geography? Rishikesh, can you hear me? I think he's typing, so I'll just wait for him to finish what he's typing. So by interlinking topics, so I'll tell you what I've done. I've just done the NCRTs, that too only the 11th and 12th NCRTs, because like I said, geography was the most difficult subject for me to learn. So I spent most of my time on the least possible books that were there. So what I've done is, when say you learn a particular chapter on say climate or air circulation, and then there is a chapter on oceans, if you pick up the 11th NCRT, it has chapters, first it deals with atmosphere, air circulation, and later on it deals with the oceans and the ocean circulations, etc. So once you learn the concept of atmospheric circulation properly, you know how things work. Say maybe things flow from a high pressure zone to a low pressure zone, and you know how atmospheric circulation, or say the trade winds and everything are connected to oceanic circulation. So you pick up those topics from atmospheric uh, content, either the pressure systems or how the winds circulate, and then use it to understand your ocean currents. And that's what I've in fact done, like link both of them, and I've learned both of them simultaneously. Learn the pressure systems and everything in atmosphere properly, then do with the oceans. Same goes for other ones too. For instance, if you're learning the soil conditions here, and in 12th NCRT, you have a chapter on agriculture, if I'm recalling correctly, 12th or 10th, something has a chapter on agriculture, and it has all the crops. And last year, there was a question directly asked from NCRT as to even the verbatim, like they just copy pasted the entire question from NCRT regarding crops, particular details about the particular crop was given, and we were asked to identify which crop is it. Now, since you do the soils from this NCRT, and then you learn that particular crops agriculture from a different NCRT, you link both of them, and then you figure out which crops work in which soil. You try to bring them out intuitively, and that has helped me answer the question in the exam. I think it was to do with cotton last year. So I hope I have answered your question to whatever extent I've understood, but please feel free to again drop a text in the chat or open the mic and speak out. Moving on. So this is all that I have to do, that I wanted to show you guys with regards to the static portion. Now moving on to the current affairs. How is it that I've revised the current affairs in the last 1 month? Now, this is what is called the active recall method, and I must thank my friends for introducing me to this. So instead of, I'm sorry guys, I get a lot of disturbance from someone. So, okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Rishikesh. Good. So, so this coming to the current affairs, these are Vision monthly magazines, and you guys can do whatever magazines that you find comfortable, be it Insights or Rouse or some other coaching institutes. So I just want to take 2-3 examples and show you guys how to retain current affairs easily. So, for instance, here you see a simple article on 131 of Indian Constitution, which is to do with original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, as to what are the things that only Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction on. Now, I'm sure if you've done polity, all of you know that it deals with the disputes between center and states, or between the states and states, etc. So now I've made questions here, just 2 questions. So right next to that particular topic, I would make 1 or 2 questions. And next time when I come back to revise it, I'll try to answer those questions first. And only if I'm not able to answer those questions will I get into the content again. So this will again help me reduce the time that I need for revision, and also help me to retain information better. For instance, Article 31, Supreme Court deals with disputes between both center and state, and also between states. So I've just made a question here. Article 131 cases only between center and state and not between states. True or false? So next time I come back, I'll just answer this question, and that'll etch that particular fact in my mind. And second question is, states need to show that their legal right is violated. Only then can they file an appeal under original jurisdiction in the Supreme Court. Is this true or false? And the content is not picked up from anywhere. It's right here. See, states need not show that its legal right is violated, but only that the dispute involves a legal question. So next time I come here, I'll answer if it's true or false. And if I'm getting it incorrect, I'll go back to this highlighted portion and then read it. Or if I'm getting it correct, I'll just move on. Now, taking another example, this is to do with the mineral laws amendment. And see, so the government has brought up some ordinance, and there was some there was something called a composite license that was given last year for both prospecting, that is searching whether the particular area has mineral reserves, and also for mining. Once you prospect it, you also mine it. So earlier there used to be 2 different licenses. Now, in addition to the 2 different licenses for prospecting and mining, there is also a composite license that the government started to give, a composite license for both. So now I put a question here. Mineral Laws Amendment Ordinance cancels the separate prospecting and mining licenses. Now, all of us will remember that a new composite license is introduced, but we might not be able to recall whether the previous version, which was a separate licenses, is still intact or if it's cancelled. So that's why I made this question here, so that I put myself in traps right now so that I don't fall in traps in the prelims exam. So I put this trap here, and then next time I come here, I answer this question true or false. So I know whether I'm doing good or bad, then I'll go and revise that portion. Similarly, so again, there is a content here. The ordinance clarifies that the companies which do not possess any prior coal mining experience can also participate in the auction of coal and lignite blocks. So here again, see, I put a question. Only countries with prior mining experience are allowed. Only companies with prior mining experience are allowed. True or false? I know it's false. Like when you come back to it, you know if it's true or false. And the last example, this was to do with Bodo Peace Accord of last year. So ignore the information about this particular land. That's just for my reference that I've written down. But the information, the questions below the line are the ones that are important. So Bodo Accord removed the NDFB from UPSC Schedule 1. So NDFB is an organization that is part of National Democratic Front of Bodoland, that is part of the tripartite agreement. Now, this was one of the banned organizations, insurgent group under UPSC Schedule 1. So all of us know that the peace accord and this one is a party to that particular accord, but we might not be able to remember whether one of the concessions that is given is the revoking of the status of ban under UPSC Schedule 1. So now if you go through the highlights of the agreement, it's not written anywhere that NDFB is actually removed from that particular list as such. So I made here a question that Bodo Accord removed NDFB from UPSC Schedule 1, true or false? Secondly, Bodos make up 30% of Assam population. Now, again, all of us might remember, see, Bodos are the single largest tribal community in Assam. This is a fact that's easy to remember. But it's easy to fall in the trap since we know that it's the single largest tribal community. We might think that they also form a significant portion of the population. But if you actually see, they only form 5 to 6% of the state's population. So I put a trap for myself here that Bodos make up 30% of Assam population. So next time I come back, I'll either fall into the trap or I'll save myself and I'll remember this thing because I've been on the edge once. Similarly, last question, all members of the Bodoland Territorial Council are elected. So if you see here, all members of the Bodoland Territorial Council are not elected. 40 are elected and 6 are nominated by the governor. I'm unable to annotate here, but I hope you guys are being able to see where I'm pointing out. 40 are elected and 6 are nominated by the governor. So I know this question is wrong. All members are not elected, some are nominated. So this is how I've gone on revising with current affairs. So I've started writing down the questions when I was doing the first revision. And I'm sure those of you who are giving prelims this time, you will have the time to do at least 1 or 2 revisions of current affairs. So it's still not late. So make this, don't end up making a question bank out of it, okay? Just make 1 or 2 questions that you think are important and relevant. Now, don't make the questions like, which are the 3 parties that are there in the Bodo Peace Accord and all of this. Then you are just overburdening yourself with too much information. Make questions on only those things that you think you will not remember, or you think are confusing, or you think are areas where there is a scope for you to fall in the trap. So only make questions out of it. And there are multiple pages where I did not even make a single question. For instance, in social issues and all of that, there are barely any like factual questions that you need to remember. At best, maybe say global wage index is given by which organization. That is all the factual information you will have in the social issues. So there are not many questions that come from it. Similarly, with international relations too. So be wise and make only those number of questions that will make it conducive for you to revise. Now, the next one, the purpose of me putting this here is for me to tell you guys that be curious about what is happening around. So just before our prelims, like all of you know, last June was when the China and India border clashes were happening. And all of us know what are the friction points. All of us have heard the names Galvan Valley, Pangongso River, the DBDO, this Dowlit Bay Goldie Road, and all of it. We have heard all of these. But I thought maybe, how much time does it take for you to put this on a map? It barely takes me 2 minutes. So I thought I'll just take the map and put everything here, what is Nubra, what is Siachen Glacier, what are the important things that are near it, what are the cities, Leh and all of that and everything. And there was in fact a question, I think last year in prelims, there was Siachen Glacier is to do with which valley. And because I've done this thing, it only took me 2 minutes, but it got me 2 marks. I've just put this here, and I could easily pick Nubra as the option in it right away. So be curious about what is happening around. Just take one extra step, and then maybe if you're finding something interesting in the news, just Google up. Don't even like go into articles and all of it. Open the first Wikipedia page that pops up. Just scroll down from top to bottom. Like I said, our subconscious memories are extremely potent. So just going through the Wikipedia page might remind you of something in the actual exam, and you'll be able to do an option, and that will decide the fate of your future. Now, moving on, these are the government schemes in the current affairs, and you guys can take this with a pinch of salt, because either you can directly do all the government schemes compilations from different coaching institutes, or do this thing. I particularly found this useful because I'm a person who need to write something down for me to learn. So writing is the method through which I get the content into my head. So while I'm doing current affairs, and current affairs obviously have a lot of schemes, I will not put all the information there. I'll just put the important ones, which ministry is to do with it, and whether it's a centrally sponsored or a central sector scheme, and what are the 2-3 important points for that. For instance, if you see this 58th scheme, interest subvention scheme, it says loan should have been extended by scheduled commercial banks only. Only is the important thing here. So I've highlighted it right away when I'm making it, because it could be the case that they might ask interest subvention by regional rural banks. And it's wrong, because SCB only. And wherever I feel like I might fall in a trap, I'll put the points here. For instance, schooling action plan, and it is easy for us to fall into a trap of whether it's Ministry of Power or Renewable Energy. So I consciously wanted to ensure that it's neither of them. So I put them down here, not Ministry of Power or Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, but it's Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So you can see the numbers. So there were about 100 schemes throughout the entire year that I've put in. So I've just picked up 2 random pages to show to you guys. So see Matsya Sampada Yojana, and you can see there is no provision for interest-free loans to farmers. So these are the areas which you think are needed, or like those things that are important, and you can put them down here. And moving on, again, species, this is an environment issue and also current affairs related issue. So these are what is called the cumulative advantage, or the cumulative output that you would get. That is, every time you just need to put a small amount of effort, but the overall end result of it would be humongous. So every time I was coming across a particular species in the current affairs magazines, what I would do is I would just keep these set of papers right next to me when I'm doing current affairs, and I'll just Google up, that particular species, what is its current IUCN status, and just 1 or 2 details as to which area it belongs to, say endemic to Mauritius, and what is it, a flightless bird. So this is all. Don't bulk up on information. This is all that is needed. And I personally had huge trouble with remembering so many species, but what are their statuses, what are this and that, and which areas they're there, and all of that. So this helped me again, keep all of them at one place, recall them easily, and also compare them. So if you see, I put everything here, I've just picked up again 2 random pages. And for instance, if they ask a particular vulture, if a particular vulture is question on vulture and you're confused, you know about vultures, but you're confused as to which option it is. Now, putting them at one place, what will this do? While learning, you will subconsciously also compare between these 5 types of vultures: white-backed, red-headed, white-bellied, slender-bellied, and Indian vulture. And that will subconsciously store in your head, okay, which is in which area. For instance, you see a white-bellied is, say, in Eastern Himalayas, and Indian vulture is in the central and peninsular region. So you will subconsciously remember that. And maybe they might ask a question, Indian vulture is in a particular national park, say Pin Valley National Park, or some national park, which is usually in the Himalayan region. And you might be able to eliminate that option, because Indian vulture is largely in the central and peninsular region and not the Himalayan region. Ram Narayan says, hey, I'm really sorry. I do not know the information about vultures in today's news. I'm really sorry. So if you would like to talk about it, so just open your mic and bring it on, and we can discuss about that. Moving on. So like I said in the beginning, so these are the, again, learning through maths, national parks. There are 104 national parks. And I put all of them in this thing. Only once I did it. You don't have to do it every day. I've just put all of them in my layer so that I know which location they are in. For instance, say Silent Valley is in the north, Silent Valley National Park that you see here is in the northern part of Kerala, whereas Ervikulam National Park and Periyar National Park are on the southern end of Kerala. So now there might be a question as to say it is in particular biosphere reserve or a particular tiger reserve is in this particular region, and you know the location, so you will be able to answer it easily. Or say which national park is closest to Tropic of Cancer. See, and you know, say they might give you 3 national parks from Madhya Pradesh and ask you which national park is closest to Tropic of Cancer. Now they might give you Satpura, Dinosaur Fossil National Park, One Vihar, and Sanjay National Park. And by doing this, you know, see, Sanjay National Park is the one that's closest to the Tropic of Cancer. The rest are also close, but not as close as the Sanjay National Park. So like this, you will be able to retain information easily. And every day before sleeping, I would challenge myself to recall all 104 names state-wise. I would start from Kerala, and then I would end up going all the way till Assam, like this way. So in a way, clockwise direction, I would go. So at the end of the day, towards the end of the preparation closer to prelims, I was able to recall all the 104 of each state, including their locations, in less than 3 minutes, because I was challenging myself. You know, just take 2 minutes and then figure out what you can. Obviously, in the beginning, it was really hard for me to recall all of them, but with practice, it becomes really easy for you to recall them. Same goes with the tiger reserves too. See, I marked all the 50 tiger reserves on it. And I know Gujarat does not have a tiger reserve. And I know these states do not have a particular tiger reserve. So it becomes really easy for you to eliminate. And they might ask you a question on this tiger reserve falls in this particular park or this particular region. And you will be able to recall very easily. See, I've done the same for biosphere reserves also. And yeah, this is the latitudes, longitudes thing that I was talking to you guys. So like we've done for the world, all the countries in the world. This is for India. This is the Tropic of Cancer, the 23.5 you see here. And this is the 82.5 meridian. So there are usually questions as to which is the closest state, closest capital city to Tropic of Cancer, or you know, the meridian, or maybe which this Tropic of Cancer passes through how many states, and or order these states from left to right and right to left. And how much time does making this map take? Only 5 minutes, because all of you know capitals, or you can just open the internet and copy down the capital locations. And you know, see, Tropic of Cancer is passing only through, so here the ones I've ticked, it is passing only through Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, only 2 states. So I've ticked it here and you can clearly see it in the map. It's passing through. These are the only 2 states that have both of them passing through them. So likewise, see, these are the glaciers and mountain passes. This again takes good 30-40 minutes for you. Everything in green that you see are the mountain passes that are there. Everything in black that you see are the glaciers that are there. And yeah, mostly the red one is, the pink one is Suleiman Ki Thar ranges. So this again helps you to easily talk about any particular glacier. I think there was last year or the year before, there was a particular question on this glacier and match it with the rivers next to it. Now you've done the reverse map, you know where the rivers are coming from or where the direction. Now they might say Nubra Glacier and then Ganga River. And you know it's clearly wrong because Nubra Glacier is here. And then you know from that map, Ganga River is originating here. Same goes with Zemu Glacier and say Yamuna River. You know Zemu Glacier is here, and from the map, you know Yamuna River is originating somewhere else. So you'll be able to interlink these things and be able to eliminate the options or zero in on a particular option. And now this is mostly what I have to do in terms of what I have to share with you guys in terms of current affairs and the static portion. Now the next part is how I've solved the question papers and what was my strategy for solving the questions in the tests, and also my way of analyzing that. But before we move on, does anyone have any questions with the prelim specific part that we have talked so far, be it the static portion or the current affairs portion? All right, so let's move on. So this part is about the the test solving. So what I've done in solving a test is what is called risk categorization. And again, this is something that I picked from my friends, to whom I'm really grateful for this. So what do I mean by risk categorization? Once I get the question paper, the first thing I do is go through each question and categorize them into 4 categories: category 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the risk involved in that question increases with the rank. Category 4 is the riskiest of the questions for me to do, and category 1 is the least riskiest of the questions for me to do. So, and how do you make the categories? For instance, see, this is a paper from last year that I picked up. This was Rao's full length test 4, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. So I just picked up 2 snippets from that particular question paper to show to you guys. So say you see the first question. So how do I categorize it as number 2? I categorize it as number 2 because I've eliminated 2 options from here. A and B I've eliminated because I know 2 is correct and 2 is not there in option A and D. So I've eliminated those 2. So now I need to pick between option B and option C. So since I have to pick from 2 options, it's a category 2 question for me. And here, likewise, I've eliminated option B and I need to pick from A, C, and D. Hence, it's a category 3 question for me. And in third one, I knew that D was correct, but I wanted to recheck. But since I almost knew that it was a correct answer, it was a category 1 question because I sure shot know that it was a correct answer. Same goes C, fourth question. Again, 2 options were eliminated. I know in MP LAT scheme, each MP gets 5 crores and not 2 crores. So I could easily eliminate option 1 in this question, which means A and D are out. And I have to pick between B and C. So it's a category 2 question for me. So likewise, you can see I categorize the entire paper into say 1, 2, 3, and see there are category 4 questions also. I didn't know anything at all about Inspire program and I took this test or this Tyndall effect that's talked about. I couldn't eliminate any option. So I had to pick from one of the 4 options, which meant it's a category 4 question. So now what is the purpose of categorizing this entire paper? 2 things. One is, you know how to prepare in the last 1 month. You will figure out what is the return on investment that you will get on the particular subject. And second is the risk taking. So I've known my seniors and my friends from college who were doing exceptionally good in their tests. There were one senior I remember was even getting 140s and above in the test series, but he cleared last prelims with a border score, but this prelims he could not score also. He could not clear also. And the reason being, in the end, during the stress of the exam, what most of us do is we end up attempting a lot of questions that are risky or that will give you net negative. By net negative, I mean they are more likely to go wrong than they are to go correct. Understand? So by risk optimization, firstly, by risk optimization, what do I mean by that? For instance, after doing this, also before that, guys, one thing I want to stress on is analyzing your tests is as important, if not more important than taking the test. So whenever it's a choice between, say, taking 2 tests or taking 1 test and analyzing it, always go for the first one. I would always recommend you do that, because what is the purpose of taking the test? They are not going to answer direct questions from these tests in the actual exam. So you are learning the skill, your skill of attempting this particular paper. What are the tactics you use to arrive at an answer or eliminate an option, and what are the learnings for you from that? So coming back to the risk optimization thing, say maybe you figure out that most of your polity questions are falling in category 1 and category 2. Now, what does this tell you? Because category 2, you're already eliminated 2 options and you just need to eliminate 1 more option. So, by just putting some more effort, maybe give 1 or 2 hours every day, you will be able to push those category 2 questions into category 1. Thereby, you're optimizing that entire polity question, because it's a low-hanging fruit for you, because most of them are just 1 and 2. And these are what are called the low-hanging fruits, and you need to hold on to them. So you'll push them into category 1 by just putting some effort into it. Now, say category 4, for instance, medieval history was largely in category 3 and 4 for me. So now what is your strategy in terms of return on investment in this? I know most of them are in 3 and 4, and I barely had 1 month, which meant I could not go back and start doing a new book or a new source on medieval history to up my knowledge. So what will I do? I would anyways attempt medieval history questions only when I'm not getting the enough number of attempts. That is, say if I need 80 questions to attempt and I'm just getting say 65 to or 70 questions from category 1 and 2, only then will I go to category 3 questions. So which means medieval history at best is going to come of rescue to me in a difficult situation where I'll not have enough category 1 and 2. So I only put so much effort that some questions of medieval history in category 3 are pushed to category 2, and that is all. I did not put in the effort to push my questions of medieval history in category 4 to category 1, because that meant I was investing a lot of time in it without enough return. So this entire categorization process will tell you where you need to divert your investment. Say 2 hours of putting in polity will push you into the category 1, but same 2 hours of putting in medieval history might at best push me from category 4 to category 3. So now you know which area you need to put your time and effort on, because time is money right now. So that is the purpose of this entire risk categorization. So 1 and 2 are the ones that you would attempt, and 3 are the ones also you mostly attempt if you want the number, like say 80 questions, 82 questions. Category 4 are the ones you do not touch at all. I mean, I personally never touched at all unless it's a do or die situation, that I need this question. Say I'm only getting say 70 questions of 1, 2 and 3, so I have to write say 10 more questions, so I'll only then venture into category 4. Now this will help you, because not repeat what the senior that I spoke to has done. He was doing very good till the last 10-15 minutes, but in the end he felt like, oh, maybe he needs to answer like more questions. Just, I mean, it's common, all of us go through that feeling in the exam hall. So what he's done is he ended up marking a good 10-12 questions in the end, and most of them turned out to be negative. So if I know all of them are category 4, I'll be more wary of attempting those questions, because there's a clear indication these are category 4 and they're more likely to go wrong for me. Yeah, Vedant, you have a question? Go ahead. Vedant, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. All right, I think there's some issue. Yeah, so this, I hope this risk categorization thing is convenient for all of you. So this risk categorization thing I've done while solving the paper only. So this is the first thing I would do immediately after taking the question paper. Even in the exam hall, actual exam, this is what I did. The moment I get the question paper, go through each question, 20-25 minutes of the exam goes into categorization only for me. I would mark each of them into 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then I'll come to 1 and I'll figure out if all ones are correct, and then I'll mark them in the OMR right away. Then I'll come to 2 and then I'll figure out their answers and mark them in the OMR. Then I'll slowly, in the last 30-40 minutes, I'll go through category 3 and 4. And whatever question I think I need to attempt, I'll put that particular question in the OMR. So that is what I've done. Hope that's clear to you. And the next slide is about the post analysis of the test. So I used to take a test for 2 hours, and then I used to spend good 3 to 4 hours on the test analysis. Now this time might differ depending upon how versed you are with that particular topics in the test, or how unaware you are about that particular topics in the test. Now why I'm showing you this particular analysis sheet of the same very test is for you to understand how to put all of it in concise form for you to recall them easily. Now, I hope all of you know what's an A3 sheet. A3 sheet is the one which has 4 sides to it, which you can fold in between. It has 4 sides to it. So I picked an A3 sheet and I would write down the answers of all of these 100 questions in only that A3 sheet. That means only consider it to be 2 A4 papers are only the ones that will have all my 100 questions in it. And I'll only put that information which I think I might not remember. See, like first question, then 2, 3 and 4 are the ones either I remember or is already covered in some other material, or I already know correct. So I then do the 5th question, then 9th question, and only like, you know, tidbits of it, like just very crisp information. Don't, you know, paste everything that is there. So it becomes really easy for you to recall. See, this is what I was talking about. This is an A3 sheet, which has 2 sets, and in the back also it has the same 2 sheets. So if you see, all my 100 questions were over this is the continuation of the first paper. So all 100 questions were done in this thing only. See, I've just wrote one-liners to most of the questions, only that important information. And next time, whenever I'm coming to revise, do my set of revisions, these are always the first set of revisions, because like they say, doing a mistake twice is a crime. If you've if you've gotten a question incorrect in a particular test, you cannot blame anyone else but you if you're doing the same mistake in the actual exam. So I decided to not do such a thing. So whenever I'm coming back to revision, these are the first ones, like all the notes that I've made are the first ones that I would come to in the revision, then go to whatever static or current affairs portion that I need. Now the last one, this is a test analysis sheet that I ran it on Excel. You can either run it on Excel or you can maybe just do it on a paper pen mode. So this is a bloody screenshot. I hope you guys are able to see this properly. So if you can see, I put all the test series here, and then so someone is asking if the same thing has to be done for all the tests. Yes, yes, Shubh, it has to be done for every test because that's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is for you to know, equip yourself with that new questions that are there, and then so that if this new content is asked in the actual exam, you will not miss it. That's the whole purpose of it. So all the questions that I've written here are actually the new information only. Whatever you're seeing on this analysis sheet, for instance, extrajudicial killings, I know what extrajudicial killings are when I took the test. But this one point that is there is the one that I do not know of before. This is the extra new information that is there for me. So everything like that, say lithium triangle, what are the countries that are there? Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, that is all. See, similarly, environmental DNA can also be sourced from extracellular DNA. So all of us have read about DNA and all of that before taking that test. So this is the new information which I put down here. So the whole purpose of it is for you to remember the new information that is there. So similarly, see, if you see the question here, River Varuna is a tributary of Yamuna. And this is something that I've not covered in that reverse map. If you've seen, I did not have this thing there. And this is new information to me. That's why I've written here, River Varuna is a tributary of Yamuna. That is all. So I hope that was clear. And moving on, this is what is called the test analysis sheet. And if you can see, I put all the tests here. Then whether I've attempted it or not, if I've attempted it, I put it in green. And if I've done the analysis of it, I would also put green in the analysis thing. Now, I hope these are pretty self-explanatory. How many questions I've attempted, how many I got correct, how many I got incorrect, and what's my score. Now, this cutoff is something I've gotten an average of the last 3 years for my category, and I put the average cutoff here. So this was the benchmark for me to pass. And everything you see in green are the ones where I've scored more than the average cutoff for the last 3 years, if you can see. And red are the ones where I've not scored. And I know which tests I'm not scoring in. See, most of these are Abhyas tests, Vision IAS tests. So I figured out maybe I'm not doing well in vision tests. So I went back to the magazines and I studied them better and all of that. Now, if you see here, this accuracy thing is a very important thing. This excuse me for this blurry screenshot, but I hope you're able to figure out something out of this. By accuracy, what I mean is how many questions you're getting correct out of the total attempted questions. So it will be, say, for this particular thing, 51 upon 87 into 100 is your accuracy. That is, you're getting 51 questions correct out of 87, and that's your accuracy. But ideal accuracy, what people say is 67% accuracy. That is, you get 2 questions correct out of every 3 you attempt. And I figured out that my accuracy is not my forte. It's not my strength. See, in most of the times, I'm not getting the accuracy correct. You see all of them in red. So what does that tell me? That tells me since I'm not getting accuracy is not my strength, I should increase the number of attempts. Increase the number of questions that I'm attempting, because at least that will save. So you can see that here, I was attempting in the 70s, largely 74, 70s, 73s and all of that. But the moment I realized it's not working out, I've switched on to like 81, 87, 85s and all of that. So figure out, I know people who have only attempted like say 67 questions in the actual exam or less than 70 and still cleared prelims. For them, the accuracy is very high. They have more than 80% accuracy. That is almost every question they give 4 by 5 times, they get it correct. So I realize accuracy is not my strength, so I've increased the number of attempts. So figure it out for yourself. So the whole purpose of this exercise is to figure it out for yourself, and also putting this in chart. And it's not a very tedious exercise, trust me, because once you put in everything here, you just put the digits here 28, 14, and it will automatically calculate the scores and percentiles, everything for you. I mean, percentage is something that the institutes themselves give, so you can't do much about it. But accuracy is something that Excel will automatically calculate it for you. So the purpose of this is to figure out, track your preparation, whether you're going on the right path, whether your scores are increasing, or whether you're, whether you're doing too many incorrects, whether maybe you need to reduce the number of incorrects, or whether you're taking too many attempts, you need to reduce the number of attempts. So this is the whole purpose of it. And this is what I've done in the last 45 days. You can still start. You have about a month to do so. So start in the last 45, you can start right away. So this is mostly all I have with regards to do with context or content specific information as to prelims, what to do and what not to do. Now, yeah, that is all I have. Now, please feel free to ask any questions regarding mains, everything that you have. I think, Jyotirmay, you had a question, right, regarding mains. So, Jyotirmay, can you hear me? Is she there? All right, I think her question was to do with how do we write 250 marks answers to it. I'm sorry, I did not put in any main specific content in this because I thought talking about interview and prelims would be more helpful to you guys currently. That's what Sir has told me. But what I've done for mains is a one page, one concept thing, in which for every particular concept, I would make notes on one A4 sheet. And all the notes relating to that concept will only be on that A4 sheet. Again, which will help me in, for instance, India-USA relations. I would put what are the history of India-USA relations, 2-3 points, like when did our bilateral relations start? We've been good partners. Or you can pick up data from Economic Survey, one of our second largest state partner of India is USA, etc. You can put it there. And then what are the current issues? Maybe the generalized system of preferences, US challenging India's developing country status, or something of that sort. You can put all of them there. And then what are the challenges of the India-US relations currently? And then what's the way forward? In the way forward, you can pick up slogans that the Prime Minister gives, when he goes on tours, or like PIB documents have a lot of slogans coming in, which conveniently the coaching institutes also bring out. You can do all of that. And yeah, more or less, this is all I have to say. Someone has how to prepare ethics. Yeah, so with regards to ethics, Satyam, what I have done is all of you, if you're not giving this attempt, but next attempt, start preparing for ethics much before prelims. GS 1, 2, 3 can still be put slightly on the back burner vis-a-vis GS 4. So what I have done is, firstly, I collaborated with a friend of mine, and both of us made notes together on OneNote, which is a Microsoft app that you get for free on any of your laptops. So what we did was, we went through different books, D. Subbarao sir's book, or Mudit Jain sir's book, or in general, all the ethics books that are there in the market. And I pasted all the syllabus in front of me. I wish I could show to you guys. So see, I don't know if you guys are able to see it or not, but syllabus is pasted right in front of me. So I would pick up one particular word from the syllabus in ethics, say aptitude and foundational values. Then I'll write down a definition of what is aptitude, what is a foundational value, and what is just the definitions of it. Don't go too deep into that thing, because ethics is one paper where you will learn the best in the where you learn the best by practicing. The more you practice is the more you learn. You can't learn a lot of it before writing your answers. So I've just learned the definitions of all of it, like what is attitude, what is aptitude, what are beliefs, values, emotions, etc. Differentiate all of them with one example. And these are the ones you can just go Google up. I've extensively used internet for ethics. I would go say beliefs versus values. Type it on Google, you will get nice flow charts, nice tables and all of that, and write them down in your notes. And your thumb of rule or your guiding light will be the syllabus. Don't go beyond the syllabus words, because ethics is an ocean where you can get lost in. So after that, what we have done is we started picking up examples. Again, we made a table, and both of us could edit that table. So whenever I see a particular example of, say, a particular IAS officer, recently there was an IAS officer in Maharashtra by name Rakesh Jhangid, if I'm recalling correctly, who's done some good work in terms of oxygen a crisis in his district and all of that. So the moment I see that, I'll put that person's name there and I'll just write the context of it in that table. Similarly, when she comes across something of that sort, she would put them there. So by the end of it, it became a huge table with good 40-50 names with different examples. And every time before I had to take an ethics test, I would just go through this table. And you can generously code these examples everywhere in ethics, and they'll hugely appreciate that. And after that, what I've done, like I said, ethics is one paper where you learn the best through practice. And after prelims, what I've done, before prelims only, I've written a lot of questions, but never case studies. So after prelims, what I've done is Insights has this program called 75 Days Ethics Plan, where they give you 2 questions every day, and then you write and post them on the comment section there. So I started following that. I tried my best to follow that. And now, after writing my answers, I would spend half an hour on going through other people's answers. Because in GS questions like, say, what a cloud burst, there is nothing much you can learn from some other answers. The fact remains the same for you or the other person. But in ethics, there is so much you can learn from other people's answers because they're very subjective. Some other person can interpret it in a different way, or you can get a lot of examples from the other person's answers. So I would pick that up and then write those examples in this table, that running table that I have with me. So that is largely how I prepared for ethics. But be prepared for very unconventional papers in ethics, because that's how it was in our case. So yeah, I hope I've addressed your question there. And next question is Dinesh's question. Your modern history, yes, Dinesh, modern history is definitely required. I wouldn't say definitely required for ancient and medieval. If you have time, go into it. Like I said, it depends from person to person. Some people, I know people who hate polity and they just do not like polity. And I know people who hate ancient and medieval history and they do not like it. So depending on you, but modern history is definitely a low hanging fruit. It's something where you can score 100 on 100 in the sense you can get all the questions correct. In fact, in this prelims that I gave 2020, polity, history, economy are the questions that have sailed me through. I got almost all of them correct, thanks to these notes that I've done. And they were very easy questions also. So always concentrate on return on investment, not just for Dinesh, but all of you guys keep that in mind. Return on investment should be your thumb rule. Before you delve into a particular venture, say you're going to do this particular book, and then you figure out, you take a moment, step back and figure out, okay, how much return on investment do I get from this book? It's modern history, so I get a lot of return on investment. But say if it's some geography extra book that I have, I may not get so much return on investment, so I'll not do it. So modern history, definitely you need to get every fact that possible out there in modern history. And in terms of ancient, try your best. For this, what helped me is institutes like Rao's released Compass before the prelims. So I picked up the Compass and then I only revised the summaries of Compass. Like for instance, they had an entire list of all the kings from starting from the Delhi Sultanate till the end of the Mughal rule. They had all the kings briefly with what are the important decisions that they've taken, important terminologies of medieval history. So I picked up from these things. Like I said, my only aim was to push category 3 questions of medieval history into category 2, So I just put in that effort. And in the actual exam, what happened was I had to attempt 4 medieval history questions to get 80 number. So I attempted 4, out of which I ended up getting 3 correct because of this thing, 3 to 2. I was slightly lucky also, but this thing, I didn't spend too much time on it, but I did not risk neglecting that particular area also. So try to figure out that balance in history, but modern history, definitely go for it. Now, Manikanta and Sumit, I'll come to your questions right after answering Lima's question. So how helpful was current affair magazines for solving CSE 2020? So Lima, what I would say is, yeah, sure, they're definitely not helpful. Like there are no questions that you would get directly as such from the current affairs material. But why is current affairs material important for you? Because maybe you might do notes making from newspaper. In fact, I did that work. And my opinion on it might differ from person to person, but I call it hard work. But there is something called hard work and donkey work. I call it donkey work because I ended up doing that. But there is also something called smart work. So what I did is in the first good 7-8 months, I used to sit religiously every night and make notes out of newspaper every day. for good 1.5 hours. So I don't know, maybe I could show you guys that notes too. So what happened at the end of the day is I ended up making too much notes and I could never go back to revising it. So these magazines are the ones that people are getting paid to make these magazines. So you can never be better at them. So read the magazines, and why current affair magazines help you is for you to eliminate an option, or for you to the subconscious memory that I was talking about. It will help you subconsciously eliminate an option or get it an option. And thirdly, the confidence that you need while you enter the exam is, if you're going into the exam knowing very well that you've not done current affair magazines or current affair materials, you'll tend to be slightly underconfident because of that. And I didn't want to take that risk because everyone else is doing and I'm not doing. So that's the reason you need to do current affairs. So in a way, I would say they're inevitable. You need to do them. You will not have direct returns from them, but the indirect returns from current affair magazines are huge. So go for that. And um, so next question is, I'll come to the distractions part and the timetable part that they've asked. So that was actually one of the things that I wanted to show to you guys from the previous PDF. Yeah. So just give me a moment. I think I got the wrong one open. Yeah. So these are the last ones that are there in the PDF. All if you please take a look at it. So these are what I call tracking sheets. So I would track my entire preparation through this, and this is the last thing I would do in a day before I go to bed. So, and you know, this making this table tabular format does not take more than 5 minutes on any break day or when you're chilling. Just you can make this entire tabular format for an entire month. So 1, 2 is 1st of February, 2nd of February, the dates that you see on top are that. And I had certain goals that I set for myself, and you can have different goals. I had the goals of reading newspaper, waking up on time, less than 2 hours I'm spending on time, whether I'm exercising that day. And I have the habit of writing a journal every day before I sleep. So whether I've written the journal and how much time I've spent in the day studying. And I do a very honest assessment of whether I've studied properly or not. See, you can also see days I studied only for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or I've just skipped studying. And these are the times without newspaper. I never counted newspaper studying into this time because I don't know, I felt that gives me some sort of fake productivity, for lack of a better word. I get all complacent that I'm studying. So I omitted the newspaper one, but rest of it. So you could see 1st of February, I was studying 7.5 hours a day, excluding newspaper, which would be around 1.5 hours. So roughly I was studying 9 hours per day, and then add 1.5 hours to every day in the end. And how much time out of that am I giving for the optional? So so similarly, see, it goes for the month of May too. So every 15 days I would make this thing. So my motivation would be to ensure I have the least number of gaps in this thing. And it used to be very stress relieving also. Before sleeping, I would just color these. I would have a lot of color pencils on my table and I would color these blocks. And there is some inexplicable satisfaction I would get at the end of it from, coloring this every day. So figure that thing out. But yeah, this is a very tedious process, is grueling process. So if anyone is telling you that they're studying 24/7, they have been motivated all through, they're lying. No one can be fully motivated throughout. No one can be on the top of the game throughout their entire preparation. I had very low times too. Like for instance, I remember last June and July were one of the lowest times. I could barely get myself to study anything. But I think the most important thing for all of us is not the falling, but to pick ourselves from that particular fall. And usually what happens, at least in my case, what has happened, used to happen is I would go on a spiral. Like I don't study today and that will feed on to tomorrow and I'll not study tomorrow also because I got used to the comfort of not studying yesterday. I nicely went out, ate, watched YouTube. So I got into that comfort. So do something that will break this cycle. You know, maybe pick up a subject that you really love, that's really easy, or something that's revision where you do not like this. There's a strategy in management which is called, if you get if you get your feet into the doorway, you can easily slowly manage your way into the room. Just put your leg in the doorway, then you can get into the room. So just do piecemeal efforts. First start doing something easy, then once you again get yourself into the group, then again you push yourself into working really hard after that. So that is there. And how do I keep myself from distractions? I have gone off all social media. And I was one of those kids who was glued to phones in college. Like my friends would mock me as a mobile glue in college because entire day I would be on my mobile to the extent that my thumbs would hurt at the end of the day from all the typing. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, you name it, I have it. Then slowly then again, I was conscious that suddenly if I remove everything, it will be like a major shock and I'll not take it. So I've done a gradual approach. After coming home, so 2019 May, I've graduated. I've come back home in July 2019. So July 2019 end was my birthday. So after my birthday, I told myself, okay, I'll take Instagram or Facebook. So I removed both of them and I went on and on and on. And then after 8-9 months, I think in February of 2020, I've removed WhatsApp also. And trust me, guys, it becomes really, even I was one of those people who thought it becomes really difficult without WhatsApp. You cannot live without WhatsApp and all of that. But trust me, it was those months were one of the most blissful months of my life because you are in your own world, fully dedicated to preparation. And it's easy. This process requires us to make a lot of sacrifices. So maybe you're seeing people's statuses or Instagram, they're chilling in Goa, they're partying, or they're doing well, earning lakhs of money, and you're sitting at home and studying. So you tend to get demotivated. And I didn't want to take any of those risks. So I went off it. So please consider going off it. All I told myself is, Vijay, this 1 year you will not even remember in your life. But the effort of you not being, the impact of you not being on WhatsApp for this 1 year, you will carry that for the rest of your life because that will aid in your selection and you'll carry that with the rest of your life. That is what I did. So I hope I was able to answer that. And then coming to Atira's question, dynamic subjects like ecology and environment. Again, ecology and environment, what I did was NCRT textbooks, 11th and 12th, particularly those last 4 chapters in 12th class NCRT biology. And then I made short notes out of it. I have them. I thought it will be too much if I show every subject. That's why I didn't put it in the slide. Then what I've done is I picked up the Compass magazine again of Rao's, and I've gone through that because all the current affairs are put at one place. Then mostly I've learned from the test series. So environment and ecology are the ones that I've emphasized the most, and science and tech are the ones that I've emphasized the most in the test because I come from a non-science background. It becomes really difficult for me to remember stuff. Like, say, I wouldn't write as many economics questions because my graduation was economics. So only way you can do is keep learning from tests. That is all you can do for dynamic subjects like ecology and environment. Shankar, I did selectively, only those conventions, some concepts, but I didn't do all of Shankar. I personally found it to be too much heavy on information, and I thought I'll never be able to remember so much information. So then Dinesh's question as to non-science background, how did you deal with science and tech articles of Sunday, Hindu, and Vision Mental Science? So Dinesh, what I did is, like I said, investment is something. These are the areas where your investment will go a long way. So, for instance, I remember I was doing the entire current affairs section on nuclear profile of India. What are the different stages of nuclear and all of this? And I had no clue what thorium is, what uranium is. I just heard the names, but they're Greek to me. I don't know what their chemical compositions are, atomic numbers are, what do they do, and all of that. So I spent good 4 or 5 hours learning what these are. And there are umpteen number of videos out there, umpteen number of online sources. So I've learned them, the concept properly. And once you learn the concept properly, it becomes very easy for you to apply. So again, a general suggestion for all of you people, every time it's a decision, you have to choose between learning a concept and learning a factual information or like a current affairs thing. Always go for the concept, because if you learn the concept, you will be able to apply it to the current affairs thing, extrapolate it to the current affairs thing in actual exam. But the other way does not work. You know the current affairs fact, but you do not know the concept behind it, you won't be able to do a good job. So with regards to Sunday Hindu ones, I felt most of them were covered in the Vision monthly magazines that were there, and few that were there. And I used to read Hindu. Like Sunday used to be my favorite day for Hindu because I used to love reading all those magazines and even the science and tech part. So if it's something that I feel is not related to mains, I would just skim over it and leave it. If it's something that I think is very relevant for prelims, then I'll again learn the concept of it. For instance, pollination is there, and then I just learn the concept. Okay, these are the ones that do the pollination. This is the process of pollination. Or they might say, a new DNA has come out. Then I'll just figure out, okay, what is DNA, what is genes, and what is that particular name. If it's that particular name, I'll write it down somewhere, be it in my environment notes or in science and technology notes, etc. But science and technology again heavily relied on the last year's compass of Rao's, and which I still have it with me, which I'm planning to use for this attempt too. So lastly, I think Satyam has a question on how do we practice essay essays. So Satyam, what I've done is, and again, guys, this is something I would again recommend to all of you: have good 2 or 3 friends with you while preparing. If at least I've reached the interview stage, and I give all of the credit to my friends that I had throughout the preparation who were preparing, because this preparation can be an echo chamber in that you always feel what you're doing is correct, what you're doing is okay. So I had friends who could motivate me while also keep me grounded. I remember when I started writing the mains answers, the first few answers I thought I wrote brilliantly. I would research like, and I would write it like a research paper. I was on cloud nine because I've given such amazing information that you would only find in science journals and all these magazines. Then I remember my friend called me up and then she gave me one good 1.5 hour lecture on, okay, this is a general studies, it's not a research paper, and you need to write all general points, and then you can maybe give 1 or 2 different points, but you cannot just dump all the different unique points at the cost of the general and essential points. So that brought me to the ground. I realized where I was doing the mistakes and then I moved on. So with regards to SS2, that's what I've done. I practiced good, say 15, 16 essays before prelims. And we had the luxury of prelims getting postponed, so there was more time. I started out in January 2020 when my prelims was in October 2020. So I wrote good 10 essays in before prelims, and I got them evaluated by my friends who were preparing and my seniors who were preparing. And after prelims, I gave good 5 tests from Forum IS. That means I wrote 10 essays from Forum IS and got them evaluated. And in my case, essay is one of the areas where I'm slightly more comfortable than other papers. So that was a number of ones I've attempted. But if say SS is an area where you think you are not doing very good, so maybe you can take more tests. But definitely start writing essays before prelims. That takes time for you to, because initially I could only write like say 5 pages of essay, 6 pages of essay, but actual exam demands that you write 10 pages of an essay. And there is one good strategy of essay writing by Vikram Grewal. You can Google up. He was AIR 51 in 2018. He was my senior in college. So this is a essay strategy that I picked up from him. I wouldn't go into the details of it. You can just go into the details on YouTube. You can just type Vikram Grewal essay strategy and you will get that. So please, I recommend you all of you go through that. It's really helpful. And then can you please suggest for regional language paper in mains? So you're talking, I suppose you're talking about the Telugu, compulsory Telugu paper, I think, Sangram. So in my case, I've done Telugu till my 12th standard. So I was comfortable with Telugu. And also in general, I have grown up reading, 2 Telugu dailies, Eenadu and Sakshi, and the magazines, weekly magazines. So I didn't really practice anything for the Telugu this thing. But I had one of my friends from Tirupati. She was in CBSE, so she had slight difficulty with this thing, writing Telugu, getting it correctly. So what she did is, right, you don't need to do anything for it before the prelims. All you need to get is 75 marks out of 300. You will get those many marks easily. And then if you look at the papers also, they're very basic. Like regional language papers are a 10th standard basic, like, write an essay in English to Telugu, Telugu to English, or then uh, uh, translate something, or like, what is the opposite of this, meaning of this, are pretty easy. But what she has done is started reading the newspapers, like say 20 days Telugu newspapers. Not reading, by reading, don't spend 1 hour. Just go through the newspapers, like, for 10-15 minutes every day before the mains. So she started doing it from end of December. And then second thing she did is, there is something called Vyasalahari. It's a guide. I don't know how many of you remember. Most of us have done it in our 10th standard. It's a violet colored book which has called Vyasalahari. It has compact essays on different topics in Telugu. So she got that book. It doesn't cost much. It's 60 rupees or 70 rupees. So she got that book, and then she went through the entire essays the day before the exam, because you have time before. So the language papers happen before your optional papers, and you have 4 days break before your language papers. So she was, the night before, all of us were staying together in a guest house, my other friends and I, because we had the same center. And what we did was, we just went through the Vyasalahari essays and we discussed ideas and we were able to write that. So that is all I can tell you about the regional languages. uh, so Dinesh is asking when to start note making. So Dinesh, for most subjects, don't make your notes in the first go. But if it's a thing, but if you are someone like me who work through this way that you need to write them down for you to learn the concept, write them down. For instance, the notes on modern history and all of that you see from above. These are the ones. Apologies. These are the ones that I've written or made after doing 1 or 2 revisions. That is 30 days, 45 days before the actual exam. But don't get me wrong, I am not learning the concept for the first time 30 days or 45 days before the actual exam. There's a huge difference between them. I already know the concept. I understood all of these concepts to my best extent possible before these 30, 45 days only. I've only put all of it together in concise form before the prelims. The reason for that is if you start making notes right away in the beginning when you're learning it for the first time, you do not know what is important, you do not know what is important. So you'll end up reproducing the entire textbook again in the notes. So you will put everything in your memory, and then only those stuff which you think are relevant or which you might not remember, only make notes out of those. But for subjects like geography was a difficult subject for me, and I was learning them from YouTube videos of this Mrunal. So I had to make notes while I was watching the videos. I cannot possibly go back and watch 45 minutes, 50 minutes videos every time I need to revise. So while watching only, I would make down my notes of everything that I need to remember. So that is all I have done. So do it according to your convenience. Like if you think you need to learn via writing, do it right away. If you think you can learn the concept and take the notes later, do it right away. Or also, guys, like I said, get 2 to 3 friends who are preparing seriously and collaborate with them. That saves time and effort, and you still have the notes. I did the same for ethics. I did the same for world history. I did the same for it's some concepts in GS3 and GS2, like which committees are there and all of that. Because it's a factual information, and then it's all put at one place, and it's nice. So please do that. And I hope that I have addressed all the questions. Yeah. So does anyone have any more questions?
Guys, if anyone of you have any questions, please message it now. We have taken a lot of time from Vijay already.
No, I'm more than happy to be interacting with you people.
Thank you, Vijay.
So guys, that is all. And before I leave, I would 2 things. This is a very grueling process, but then keep your spirits high. At the end of the day, it'll all be worth it. And always learn from your mistakes. Even in the beginning, when I started out, I've read a lot of blogs. I had a lot of seniors from my college who were in the service and all of that. Then I thought, what can go wrong? Like I've done all of this. So unless I'm very stupid, I can't possibly make mistakes. But come February, 7 months into preparation, I realized I've done so many mistakes. I have not prepared my optional in the beginning, and I've done a lot of mistakes. I did not decide on my optional in the beginning and all of that. So always take out time to figure out where you're going. And part of it is also talking with your friends and then realizing where you're going and correct on your mistakes. And keep working hard. That's the only way out there. And yeah, all the very best, guys.
Thank you, Vijay. Students, I think you had a great time and great inspiration and great insights from Vijay. I have listened to the lecture, Vijay. It was really insightful. You have put up so much effort into it.
I'm glad I could be of help.
Students, I want to know that we had only 1 hour time, but Vijay took the extra time out of his schedule and gave it to us.
I was consciously trying to not put in too much information, like I said, but I'm glad you guys stuck through till the end. But also, guys, in case if you need any help or anything that you would like to talk about, please feel free to get my number from Vikram sir or Vishnu sir, and you can drop me a text and I'll get back to you whenever I can.
Definitely, Vijay. Vishnu IAS Academy is wishing you all the best for the results.
Thank you so much.
Very eager for that. Like you're one of the actually we have around 6 students from our who are going to the interview right now for the first attempt, and we are really excited. Special always when the students from the first attempt go to that. It's really like
Vishnu sir has been great help. I must give him the credits. I don't think he's here, but he was the first one I took my mock interviews with, and that helped me streamline my entire preparation for the interview after that. So thanks to Vishnu IAS Academy also for that.
Thank you, Vijay. So it's been a very great session. So guys, we will come up more with this, and if you need any help from Vijay, please let me know. I will help you out to connect with him. And let's keep the questions very strict and very to the point next time, so that we don't take much of
No,
your time.
no, just feel free to drop me a text on my number on WhatsApp or Telegram or and I'll get back to you ASAP.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you. It was
Thank
a
you,
great
everyone.
session.
Good night and all the very best, all of you.
Thank you.